Hey everyone, and welcome. When we think of ancient Egypt, images of pyramids, mummies, and solemn gods often come to mind. But beyond the tombs and temples, what was life and love and sex actually like along the Nile? You might be surprised. And in this video, you will learn all the secrets of sex in ancient Egypt. Sex and fertility were openly celebrated and central to beliefs. Unlike some later cultures that developed strong taboos around sexuality, ancient Egyptian society generally viewed sex and fertility as natural, positive, and vital forces, deeply intertwined with creation, rebirth, and the divine order. Procreation was essential for continuing the family line, providing workers for the state, and ensuring one's own afterlife care through descendants. This positive view is reflected prominently in their religion and mythology. Creation myths often involve divine sexual acts, such as the god Adam masturbating to create the first pair of deities, Shu and Tefnut. Gods associated with fertility, like Min, often depicted with an erect phallus, and Hathor, goddess of love, beauty, music, and motherhood, were widely worshipped. The importance of family and children is ubiquitous in tomb paintings and reliefs, which frequently depict married couples showing affection, holding hands, embracing, and surrounded by their offspring. While monumental art focused on religious and funerary themes, maintaining a sense of decorum, ma'at, the underlying importance of sexuality and procreation is implicit. Even funerary beliefs emphasized regeneration and rebirth, often using sexual symbolism, like the story of Isis reviving Osiris to conceive Horus. This cultural acceptance meant that heterosexual intercourse, particularly within marriage for the purpose of having children, was seen as fundamentally good and necessary. While discretion was likely valued in daily life, there wasn't the pervasive sense of inherent sinfulness or shame associated with sex itself that would characterize some later religious traditions. The focus was on its life-giving and regenerative power, essential for both the individual family and the cosmos. Women held considerable legal rights and potential agency. Compared to women in many other ancient societies, like Greece or Rome, ancient Egyptian women enjoyed a relatively high degree of legal status and potential autonomy, which likely extended into their personal and sexual lives. Legally, women could own and inherit property independently, manage their own businesses, enter into contracts, and initiate divorce proceedings. Marriage was typically a monogamous social agreement rather than a strict religious sacrament, documented by contracts that could stipulate financial arrangements and rights in case of dissolution. While society was patriarchal and men held dominant public roles, this legal framework provided women with a degree of leverage and independence not commonly seen elsewhere in the ancient world. This suggests women may have had more agency in choosing partners, though arranged marriages likely occurred, especially among elites, and potentially more freedom within the marital relationship. Surviving love poetry from the New Kingdom period expresses mutual desire and longing from both male and female perspectives, hinting at the recognition and valuation of female desire and romantic love. Tomb depictions often show husbands and wives in affectionate poses, suggesting companionship was valued alongside procreation. While adultery by a wife seems to have been viewed more severely than by a husband, reflecting concerns about legitimate heirs. The relative legal empowerment of women suggests their sexual lives weren't solely dictated by male control. Divorce was accessible to both parties, providing an escape route from unhappy unions. This combination of legal rights and cultural expressions points towards a society where women, while still operating within a patriarchal structure, potentially experienced greater personal and sexual agency than their contemporaries in other major ancient civilizations. Explicit erotic art existed, though rare and likely satirical. While most official Egyptian art maintained a formal style focused on religious rituals, pharaonic power, and idealized depictions of life in the afterlife, there is rare but significant evidence of explicitly erotic artwork. The most famous example is the Turin erotic papyrus, Papyrus 55001, dating from the Ramesside period, circa 1150 BCE. This unique document features a series of vignettes depicting couples engaged in various, often acrobatic, sexual positions. The male figures are typically portrayed as coarse, bald and unkempt, while the women conform more closely to idealized Egyptian artistic conventions of beauty, though shown in unusually explicit poses. Interspersed with these scenes are illustrations of animals performing human tasks, suggesting a satirical or humorous intent for the papyrus as a whole. Scholars debate the exact purpose and audience of the Turin Papyrus. It might have been a form of private entertainment, a humorous commentary on human behavior, a catalog of sexual positions, or perhaps even a political satire disguised in erotic imagery. Regardless of its precise meaning, its existence demonstrates that Egyptians were capable of producing and, presumably, privately enjoying explicit depictions of sexual activity, operating outside the strict decorum of public and funerary art. It offers a rare glimpse into a less formal, perhaps more worldly aspect of Egyptian culture, suggesting an awareness and potential enjoyment of sex for pleasure, depicted with humor and exaggeration, separate from its procreative and religious significance found in more mainstream sources. Its contrast with official art highlights the different modes of expression available for different contexts within Egyptian society. Ambiguous attitudes towards homosexuality. Evidence regarding attitudes towards homosexuality in ancient Egypt is scarce, fragmentary, and subject to considerable scholarly debate. There is no explicit legal code condemning same-sex relations, nor is there clear celebration or integration of it into mainstream social structures comparable to the focus on heterosexual marriage and procreation. The most frequently cited potential evidence comes from the joint tomb of Neankhnum and Khnumhotep, two high-ranking male officials from the 5th dynasty, circa 2400 BCE. They are depicted multiple times in poses usually reserved for married couples, such as embracing face-to-face and nose-to-nose. This has led some Egyptologists to interpret them as the earliest recorded same-sex couple. However, other scholars argue they could have been brothers, perhaps twins, close friends or colleagues whose bond was depicted with unusual intimacy, emphasizing loyalty rather than erotic love. No accompanying texts definitively clarify their relationship. Some mythological texts contain episodes that could be interpreted as involving same-sex encounters between gods, e.g., Seth and Horus, but these are often complex, involve power dynamics or humiliation, and are difficult to translate directly into social norms. There are also some literary texts and wisdom teachings that seem to warn against certain types of same-sex relations, possibly associating them with disorder or passivity considered inappropriate for men. Overall, while there's no definitive proof of widespread acceptance or harsh persecution, the existing evidence suggests that same-sex relations likely occurred, but were not a prominent or socially sanctioned aspect of life in the way heterosexual procreative relationships were. The cultural emphasis remains strongly on fertility and the continuation of the family through male-female partnerships. Practical knowledge of contraception and fertility testing. Ancient Egyptians possessed practical knowledge related to reproductive health, including methods for contraception and fertility testing, as documented in several surviving medical papyri, such as the Kaihun Gynecological Papyrus, circa 1825 BCE, and the Ebers Papyrus, circa 1550 BCE. These texts reveal a pragmatic approach alongside magical beliefs. Contraceptive methods described often involve pessaries, substances inserted into the vagina to act as a barrier or spermicide. A commonly cited example involves a mixture of crocodile dung, honey, and sour milk. While the effectiveness of crocodile dung is questionable and likely unhygienic, acacia gum, another mentioned ingredient, is known to ferment into lactic acid, which does have spermicidal properties and was used in some 20th century contraceptives. Honey's stickiness might have also acted as a barrier. These methods show an attempt to control fertility based on empirical observation, however flawed. The papyri also describe methods for assessing fertility. One famous test suggested a woman urinate on bags of barley and wheat seeds. If the barley sprouted, she was predicted to bear a male child. If the wheat sprouted, a female, and if neither sprouted, she was considered unable to conceive. While the gender prediction aspect was likely folk belief, modern science has confirmed that estrogen in the urine of a pregnant woman can indeed stimulate seed germination, suggesting the pregnancy test aspect had a degree of empirical validity. The existence of these documented methods indicates that ancient Egyptians actively sought ways to manage reproduction, applying practical knowledge and remedies alongside magical or religious appeals, reflecting a sophisticated, multifaceted approach to health and the human body.